Hi, I'm Sandy Schreck for Limbush Roses, and today we're exploring one of our fall collections called Gather. Gather's really inspired by nature, and so we're starting off with an awesome twig wreath. So we have a variety of the different branchy type wreaths and some with wood slices, and so a big good collection. But this is one of our new wreaths that we brought in. So I love that spiral motion that it's gonna bring into. And then some of the other items that we're gonna add in are this Chinese lantern, which is more of a value stem, and then a little bit more of a higher end stem is the green Chinese lantern. But doing that combination of the orange and green is gonna give us really that fresh look. We have a bittersweet branch too, so these would all be things that you would find walking a path in the woods coming through. And then we have some dried materials that we're going to be adding. This is a foliage called Stobie, and then some of the natural mosses just to hide some mechanics, and then coming in with the brown transparent oak to just give some depth. So why don't we get started? So right here, I'm just going to use this stem cutter, and this is a stem cutter that you can use to cut silks, and so you can use it to cut bushes. I have one that has carpal tunnel, and so you can see how easily that can cut up stems so that you don't stress your hands on cutting those components up. You can just see how easily you can get more value out of that. So this longer branch here, I cut this into 3 pieces as well. This is one you definitely want it, but if you cut right at the point where the flower hits the next flower, you're gonna get an end like this, and as you're putting in your design, you wanna make sure that flip that end to the back side, so then you can use that one stem and as a value stem and be able to really hide those tips. So why don't we start getting put it together? So I have pan glue that I have melted here, and so I'm just gonna come in and utilize that structure of the wreath to just come in and lay in some of that bittersweet, just coming around, and I'm just tucking it into the structure of the wreath. So there won't be any additional foam mechanics that will be in this wreath, just the different materials. And you can see that I've bent it a little bit, but we want to have that continuous motion still going on with our floral elements that we're going to add in here as well, and have it just follow that similar pattern. And rather than lay it real flat, some of the pieces you can see I've got coming up a little bit so that they're going to be able to give some depth and dimension to the wreath. Just make sure we tuck our cut ends in. Then here, now see what the wreath looks like in just the orange. All of a sudden, by adding in this green component of the same material, so some of the same Chinese lantern, all of a sudden that made it feel like some of it's not ripe, and so it gives that really fresh feeling to the design. So we're just gonna come in with a few of those a little bit tighter into the center, where like closer to the ground, they might not be as ripe as the further branches out. And so you can just see how that brought that fresh element in. So next we're gonna add a little bit of depth and character. So this is just the preserved transparent oak. And so on wreaths too, rather than only just doing, you see many times that people will just be really top heavy. So they don't bring it to the back and get that depth and dimension. So with these leaves, what we're gonna do is come in more from the back side and add that depth and dimension into that wreath. You can see just it adds kind of a look like these leaves were on the ground, just falling off the trees, and still following our same spiral pattern through that wreath, just coming around, adding those elements in. So the preserved, yikes. Okay, glue pan frenzy. Hang on here, I gotta use a leaf to get the glue out of my way there. So that just brought it to the back side, and then we're just gonna add a few more of those leaves. And I'm just cutting that branch down, so I'm mostly leaving it on, but we need to add the depth, bringing some of those up into the front side as well. So this will bring the eye forward and backwards and really add a cohesive look throughout the design. So there you can see just how much that natural element added in. It just gives a realism look to it. And then we're just gonna come in with some of our bittersweet, and these are things that would be kind of friends in nature. And so what we're doing is designing a wreath that kind of pulls those same elements together. Still gonna continue to follow my spiral pattern and doing the same mechanic on how I'm spiraling through this wreath. Kind of keeping, so you'll notice that I'm adding one element at a time, and that way we can get that cohesive look, and I'm able to kind of spread out the different materials throughout the wreath and just give a great look of blended materials. So here I'm gonna come a little bit further back. So rather than always just coming up to the top, we get a little bit of that bittersweet coming to the back as well. Take a little spin around, see how we're looking, and come in right in there. So our next element that we want to add is this stoby, and so this is another preserved material, like the leaves, and just gonna bring that in, tuck that realistic element in. You'll see I'm kind of getting a lot of glue strings, and so at the end of making this wreath, you would take a heat gun and apply heat to the wreath, and that'll melt those glue strings away. And unless you want it to be like Halloween and it's spider, you know, they also double as spider webs. So if you want that look, that's a way to achieve that, but you know, we're just trying to get a little bit more a realistic look. But look at how that little seeded touch added so much more realism in on this wreath. So lastly, of course, what do we have making an appearance in fall is monarch butterflies. And so this is the same way that I would put some gems and stuff in wristlets. So what I'm gonna do is come here, I'm using my jewelry tip, I'm spinning it around, and just making a little bit of a base, and that way I can dip that little circle into my glue and have a little landing pad on how that can go in. So you can see there, I've just created a circle. Then I'm going to dip it in the glue. Got to get off a few of the strings, and then just get them all to kind of fly randomly. And so butterflies are an upcoming trend that we're going to see continue to rise. They're a symbol of rebirth, and so going forward into 2019, I feel like butterflies are going to continue to grow as a trend. We're seeing it some in sympathy and some of the other design work, but here I've just, taken them and kind of have them all flying. Right now they're all flying a little bit the same, too much the same motion, so I got to get a few of them coming the other way because butterflies do not all fly the same direction. And then lastly, if we have a little bit of glue showing it all, what we can do is just tuck in a little bit of this moss and get our butterflies to just come in, just add a little bit of that earth element in there. But so this is our gather wreath, and we hope that you'll come on in and see our collection of the floral materials that we've gathered for you at Lembush.